Hey everyone, Evan here, and I recently got a question from Mari I would like to touch on. Her question is, could you explain what's considered distracting ourselves from healing as opposed to creating awareness to it? This question is on my video about can you do too much inner work on yourself? And I love this subject about what is distraction, what tricks us into thinking we're doing inner work when we're not actually doing it. So one of the biggest things I found that lies in that territory, okay, is this distraction from inner work, or is this actually creating attention or useful insights and focus? I would call that, not that I would call it, it's not a proprietary name or anything, but the difference between thinking and feeling, which can actually be quite subtle. So, one of the ways we distract ourselves from doing actual inner work and emotional healing is we get kind of close to a subject we're working on or that's affecting us in our lives, right? Let's say you have an ongoing pattern with relationships where the same thing keeps happening. You get to a certain level of intimacy and everything shuts down. Or every time you're about to get a promotion or things start going well in your own business, seemingly out of nowhere, you start making strange decisions, things start falling apart. Well, we can think we're working on that a lot of times when what we're actually doing is just analyzing the problem and thinking about it. Now, it's not wrong to analyze a problem and think about it inherently. It's just different than doing emotional work. So, an example of this, let's say it's the money business pattern that you're noticing. To look at that experience, look at that history or event that recently happened, say, wow, okay, I see the pattern, right, which is a good awareness. That is bringing an awareness to it on a certain level. And then you're noticing, okay, this keeps happening. This keeps happening. This reminds me a little bit of when I was a child and I had that toy taken away from me. That can be the beginning of getting deep into the emotional work, but it can also just become candy for your mind where you're like, oh my God, yeah, this happened and I had that toy taken away from me when I was a kid and I can see the pattern. And you know what? Next time, I'm just not going to do that. And that's not going to work because you haven't actually done anything to process that experience, process the emotions behind it. Let's say it rarely works to make the decision. That's a reason it's a pattern in the first place. So that distinction between, okay, I'm thinking about it, I'm looking at it, I'm discovering details about it, that's where you can be distracting yourself, but think you're just bringing this useful awareness to the inner work. One thing that's important to notice about your mind is that it can be endlessly generative, endlessly creative, and find infinite number of connections and connecting the dots. And wow, this reminds me of this event from childhood. And I can see how my last boyfriend or girlfriend turned out like that. Wow, isn't it amazing how it's all connected and it's all about our beliefs and energy? And it can just keep going and going. And in that process, what it's actually doing in many cases is avoiding moving towards the painful stuff that's behind it. Not because it's bad or wrong or wants to self-sabotage you, but because it's painful. A lot of this emotional inner work stuff can involve looking at things that are uncomfortable or unpleasant to look at and feel unpleasant to be with, at least in the initial moment, right? So it can often feel a bit like you're trying to move your hand towards a hot stove, and your mind, instead of just saying, no, 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 move away from that stove, that might not be so effective because it knows, well, we want to do this work on ourselves. We think we want the patterns to change. So let's think about it a lot. That way we can make ourselves feel like we're making all these connections and insights, but on another layer, we're actually distracting ourselves from doing emotional work or digging into what's behind the problem. So if you notice that happening, what you want to practice, in my opinion, is exercises, anything that helps you connect to your feelings a little bit more and practice, even like a game. Okay, can I stay connected to the actual visceral feeling, right? Here's how to practice that. Here's an example. If you think of let's use a positive emotion. Think of the last time something really exciting happened to you. Felt really good. You got some great news. Right? There will be the mental component, the memory, the events, the images, the sounds, right? But the feeling of excitement itself, notice that is a physical feeling in your body and an emotional experience. It's a quality. It's like a food in your mouth. It's something that words can't actually describe. It's a feeling. So go ahead and imagine just breathing in more of that feeling. Putting your interest and attention on, what does this really feel like? Let me soak in all of the experience of that feeling. And what you'll often notice is your mind will go back to describing it, or describing the event, or describing the situation, and you get pulled back into the description about the thing. Oh yeah, wasn't that great? And then this happened, and then suddenly you're somewhere else. Meanwhile, there's a connection to the actual visceral feeling in you. So even just some deep breaths into that, building your capacity to distinguish between thinking and feeling is very valuable. And you will begin to catch yourself more and more. Okay, am I actually feeling into this a bit, which can help process it? Even just feeling alone accomplishes a lot, because we often don't do it. We just go into thinking. So as you're exploring topics, especially since, if you're watching this and you're asking these types of questions, you're already interested in inner work, and you probably have some background on, okay, bringing things to consciousness, practicing being with the feeling a bit. You can look at a video of mine on here called What is Inner Work and How to Do It, for just some of my own framework. And there's thousands of frameworks, but I think there's underlying essential themes that are sort of core elements of any good practice. And one of them is this capacity to be with what you're experiencing and not completely disconnect and living completely in your mind about the subject. So I think in my experience, that is one of the most common, one of the most prevalent, and one of the most disruptive mechanisms that distracts us from inner work. Because we think we're making all of these insights and connections, and your mind is, but that alone is not necessarily going to do much, right? There's infinite analogies about that, but wow, I'm making all these connections about how basketball works, right? I've analyzed thousands of tapes. I've watched Michael Jordan do it. I can see how the wrist leads to this and the shoulder position. None of that can make you play. That information will make you an academic, right? It has nothing to do with your actually building the muscle memory, and that mental knowledge can become useful to develop the nuances, but it's real practice. It's real feeling. It's real bringing up material, learning different ways to process it. Like I said, I use EFT and different techniques of just kind of being present with it, asking questions, guiding our awareness to different aspects. That to me is the actual inner emotional work. And the other stuff is the analytical aspect, which is not bad or wrong. It's just easily misinterpreted as being emotional work when it is mental connections, right? So you can use the two in tandem. It's a great thing to do. You bring up a memory, you go, wow, that's connected to that. Okay, now let me go back into that experience if it feels safe for me to do that and work through some of the emotions. Then you're going to be doing work that, in my experience, will get you some real results. You won't be triggered the same way anymore. You'll be able to recognize and actually stop yourself from making that bad business decision again. You'll see your body start moving towards that same person you've dated 10 times, like they're the same personality that didn't work for you. And you'll not just notice it intellectually, but go, oh, wait, I feel another choice. I feel space in my body to go, no, not this time, right? So hope that helps, and I love your questions. So if you have any others, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks, and remember, you're not a repair project. This inner work is just designed, in my opinion, to help you live a better life and help you deal with the challenges that life will inevitably throw at all of us. So take care.